So now it is time to analyze Kasparov against Korchnoi. This is one of my favorite games from Kasparov. It's not as popular as other games because this is from a blitz match or probably a semi-rapid game. So I still think it has a lot of value, and that is why I am presenting it. So Kasparov plays as white, and here we have this flexible move order by black. We know that when black plays like this, he can still play a lot of things. For instance, here if we played knight c3, then he can play the Nimzo Indian with bishop b4, and he can also play d5, and he's still playing the queen's gambit. The same goes after knight f3. If he plays d5, we have the queen's gambit. If he plays b6, we have the queen's Indian. He can also try playing c5, and here we have two main lines. Here we have a Benoni defense, and if we just play knight c3, we are probably transposing into an English opening. And he can also play what Korchnoi played in this game, which is bishop b4 check, and this is known as the Bogo Indian. It is quite similar to the Nimzo. Only difference is we haven't played knight c3 yet, and that means we are not at risk of breaking our pawn structure. In fact, we are gonna cover the check with bishop d2. And here black plays a5. This is not the only move in that position. Black can also try bishop takes d2, which looks a bit passive, but it is definitely possible. You'll see a lot of games with this line. And before white builds up a strong center, black should probably play d5 here. And we also have queen e7. This is possible as well. As you can see, we cannot take on b4 yet, because after queen takes b4, we either lose b2 or c4. And I also like c5. In fact, I played the game against one of my favorite players, Alexei Shirov, and he played c5. The idea reminds me of a5. When we take, suddenly black wins some space, and he also stops our knight c3, which is supposed to be the best square for our knight. And b4, despite looking like a weakness, I mean, this pawn might be a fortress if he plays a5 and knight a6. So all these lines are possible. Korchnoi plays a5, and I like how Kasparov played this variation. There's no need of taking on b4. I mean, after all, we are also opening the a file. I mean, you'll find a lot of games with this variation, but I like to play logical chess, and knight c3 is more than natural, even if he takes. Here we got the bishop pair. We are one move away from placing the bishop on a solid square, and even if he plays this, I'm more than happy to play this position, because suddenly all his pieces are on the first rank. So I like knight c3. Here he plays b6. I think this move is great. In all the games we saw so far, we see a lot of in-between moves, and we have to get used to them. Usually white plays with Defiant Keto against the Nimso or the Bogo Indian, and here before we play he3 and bishop he2, he tries placing the bishop on the main diagonal, and this makes a lot of sense. He can always castle, but there's no rush since we have a closed position. And, well, after b6, Kasparov plays e3. And this is the first surprise for us, because e3 is not the main move. As I was saying, the main move is he3 plus bishop he2. This setup reminds me of the Queen's Gambit, where white plays with e3, bishop d3. Main difference is our bishop is inside the pawn chain. If this was a Queen's Gambit, our bishop would be on he5. I mean, our bishop is supposed to be on he5. Here, we don't have the best bishop, but it happens to be a great defender, so bishop b7, bishop d3. I also have to tell that when we play this opening, and you probably know this if you are a d4 player, it all comes to the control of the e4 square. If white manages to play e4, then he's gonna have a clear advantage. Of course, we can't play e4 yet, because in a lot of variations he'll just take on c3, and then he takes the e4 pawn. He castles, we also castle, and then black decides to play with d5. I think it's okay, because sooner or later we'll play e4. And I don't really see, useful moves for black. He has to develop a piece maybe. If he goes knight c6, he's blocking his own bishop. Knight a6 is okay, although the knight is not doing much there. Maybe rook e8, trying to play this. Maybe, but I guess he's moving the bishop too much. He can of course take on c3 and try playing something like this. But then we have an easy maneuver. We can just move our bishop. We keep those powerful bishops. And when he plays f5, sooner or later we'll push that knight back. Sooner or later we'll open that position. Therefore, our bishop pair is gonna dominate. Also, this bishop on e1 happens to be a great defender. It is controlling both sides of the board. So d5 makes a lot of sense. Now, that position reminds me of a Queen's Gambit. We take. I like this retake by black, because then he has a center if he took with a piece. This is possible, but one day we'll play e4 with the advantage. Doesn't have to be now, but it is possible. So he takes. So here, let's see how Kasparov plans this middle game. If we had our bishop on e5, things would be easier for us. But since we have the bishop on d2, it is not easy to tell a plan for white. I mean, if we give black a couple of moves, he's gonna have more space, starting with knight e4. and his bishop can always go back home to d6 or e7. So the first move is a3. I like it, because even if he's not taking on c3, this a3 is useful. We can try rook b1 plus b4 in a lot of variations. And this idea comes from the Queen's Gambit, and this is known as the minority attack on the queen side. Yeah, black doesn't want to offer his bishop. We know we are happy to keep our bishop, and sooner or later we'll find a way to play e4, or in other words, to activate our bishop on c3. So he plays bishop d6, and here comes the most important move in this game. We can try attacking on the queen side. In fact, when we play d4, we usually have positions where we have to attack on the queen side. But I mean, if I play something like this, first I think he can just play this. He's gonna push our knight back and he'll end up playing bishop d6 again. Second, I think he can just leave the bishop on d6, and here he wins some space. I don't think we win much by taking this bishop. I feel we are just trading. I know a bishop is important, but here he's got a powerful knight, and our bishops are not special, so I'm not really sure about knight b5. Maybe a move like rook c1 makes more sense, because that makes our knight b5 stronger. But this is much better. If you take some time analyzing that position, you'll realize winning space and creating a kingside attack is putting more pressure than the moves we suggested before. And okay, if he takes now, it's different, because we open that position, and I believe we are gonna activate our bishop pair. So he plays c5. Well, I like this move. I think knight bd7 is too passive. We're gonna play f4 anyway, and we have ideas from the stone wall attack. We can do this with the rook or maybe the queen. When he plays c5, he's attacking our center, and that's great because d4 and f4 are the supporters of knight e5. We play f4, we have to, and here comes the first mistake by black, in my opinion, and it is not easy to see. I mean, knight c6 is not hanging a piece, it's not losing material, but it is closing bishop b7. What is more, I don't see any future for the knight via e7. If he plays something like this, then he can try knight d7, knight f6, maybe in some variations f6. Although f6, he has to be careful with this diagonal, but okay, it might be a possibility. If he plays knight e4, we have a complicated game, and I'm not really sure what is the best continuation for white. Maybe this. Maybe. And well, knight c6, as I was saying, I don't see much. The only advantage I see is he's attacking on d4. That is the only advantage I see. And by the way, another move black can consider is taking here, but I think this is a mistake from the positional point of view, because one day our bishop is gonna be active if we play f5. All these positional factors are key when we analyze a position, and we learn them by analyzing a lot of games. Okay, so knight c6, probably the first mistake, and here Kasparov protects the d4 pawn. Of course, we are not taking on c5, because then we lose our entire center. This is much, much better. And this is stronger than 92. 92 would be the passive version. Here c takes d4. As I was saying, this is probably not the best move, not the best try, because then we'll activate our bishop. And if black could play knight e4, then I think he would be equalizing. Maybe instead of c takes d4, well, I know c4 is tempting, although once he plays this, he is killing his action on the queen side. I mean, he doesn't have any counterplay there. That position is pretty closed. Maybe he has to play rook e8, maybe rook c8, some random move, developing a piece. This is definitely a mistake in my opinion. And if knight e4, I think this is the key move. Because I mean, if he plays knight e4, he's at least putting some pressure, and I'm not entirely sure this is great. I mean, here he manages to trade some pieces off. Even if he loses a pawn, his bishops are active. I'm curious what Kasparov had in mind against this. I even consider a move like bishop e1. I'm not scared of this because of queen b3. And I think I have an advantage. Well, especially if he takes. We probably have a winning advantage in this position. Maybe even bishop takes e4. Well, again, knight e4 is probably the best chance for black. Let's take a look. But in this position, since bishop takes e4 is not the best, I want to double check. Well, that computer says bishop e3 as well. Reminds me of bishop e1. And after f6, okay, the queen b3 I suggested seems to be correct. Okay, I'm happy about that. And the other move, Rybka says after knight e4 is rook c1. Well, sometimes the machine uses logic and positional understanding. Here we keep the initiative, we create a simple threat, and if he takes on d2, after all, that was our bad bishop. And he's also getting rid of his own defender, which is knight f6. So Here 94, I still think it was the best try. This is too passive. And now we'll have bishop e5, bishop f4. And by playing f5, we also stop him from improving on the king side. Now it is too late to play 94, and we'll see why. My advice for positions like this, when you're under pressure, is trade pieces off. This is much, much better. I know black is not happy to offer that bishop, but after trading a couple of pieces off, even if we take on d6, after some trades, he's gonna have better chances for sure. On the other hand, if you're attacking, don't trade. 94 runs into the simple bishop takes, and the thing is, now we play f6, and here we just open his king. He takes on e5. Well, if this, apart from rook takes f6, which looks tempting, I would also consider in between moves. I don't think bishop h6 is working, because he just takes, and he has knight e6, so this is not working. But maybe I can consider queen e4, because now I'll have knight e7, rook takes, maybe this. And now it's different, because rook e8 runs into knight takes f7. It is amazing how in-between moves are, how important they are. In every single game we see, we find in-between moves. So here, Korchnoi plays bishop takes, d takes e5 is the only move. This looks like winning a piece. However, you probably see queen c5. And we are basically, I think black has a clear advantage. So we just take knight e6, and we take the chance to open his king as soon as possible. When we see a position like this, usually we expect a move like rook e8, but the problem is we continue attacking, and f7 is also hanging. Okay, here bishop e5. Yeah, king takes is usually a move you don't want to play. So before he manages to create some counterplay, or before he manages to trade pieces off, we keep on playing aggressive moves. This is our chance with knight d6. So when he plays bishop a6, again we have a lot of possibilities, and we think about moving the rook. We also think about knight f5 check. Maybe moving the rook is good enough. And if I move the rook, I would play rook f2. This check is not that clear, because now his king is somehow the king is safe there. Our knight is no longer on a powerful square, and he might have the chance of trading pieces off. We have to be very careful with what we play, because black can easily equalize if we make a mistake. As I always tell here, in order to find the right moves, we cannot base our thinking in concepts. We have to use tactics. And in order to find a move like this, you have to do a lot of puzzles. That's my only advice. And this is winning, of course. He has to go back. If this, we just mate him. So here the mate comes with h3 and queen h6. And by the way, this is not the first time I see Kasparov playing something like this. I don't remember his opponent, but I recall analyzing a game with the same maneuver. So king e8. Now rook f5. Okay, as you can see, the plan is so simple. Again, we see that opposite color bishops favor the attacking side. And okay, here queen h4 loses the queen. Here, of course, black resigns. This queen h4 is probably because of time trouble. But anyways, if he plays, this is probably the best try. Well, maybe rook h5. I like playing the easy move, not allowing any counterplay. I know, I trap the rook, I take it, and then I don't need to mate him in order to win. So I hope this analysis was useful. As I said, this is one of my favorite games from Kasparov, and I guess it is because I had some trouble facing the Bogo Indian, and this line, when I saw this line, I found it too simple, and I fell in love with this e3, bishop d3, and this setup as white. I also hope this DVD and my analysis was useful. You could learn something, and I also hope I see you guys on my future videos. Thank you.
Hi, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, The 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.